welcome to a new video from Excel Data Analysis Series PQB or Power Query Basics. This video PQB05, we are going to see how we can extract data from an Access database. We are going to see how we can extract the sales transaction from the Access database, and also we are going to build on the relation inside this Access database so we can retrieve more data from other tables. And also we are going to see how we can add custom column to calculate the sales revenue. Also we are going to load the query into the data model instead of the normal Excel table or pivot table, and this will speed up the reporting process big time. Also we are going to check our data inside the Power Pivot Editor, so we can check the data. It's around 3 million records inside the Excel, but in the Power Pivot Editor. And also we're going to see how we can add measures to calculate sales totals, sales quantity, and average price using the DAX formula or data analysis expression formulas. And finally we are going to create a pivot table so we can generate our sales report. If you want to follow along while watching the video, or even if you want to practice after watching the video, please go down in the description section. You will find the link. Please use it to download the Excel file, and also use the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified with the new videos. So before going to Excel and start working on our example today, let's have a look on the Access database to start understand our data. So we have in the Access database we have three tables. First one is the sales table, which is the sales transaction. As you can see here, it's more than 3 million records, and the fields that we have in this table is the product ID, the region ID, the date of the transaction, the quantity, and finally the discount. As you can see here, there is no names for the product or for the region, and also we don't have the price for the transaction, so we cannot, using this table, standalone table, we cannot calculate the revenue. Therefore we need to capitalize on the two-dimensional table or lookup tables. First one is the product. As you can see here, we have the product ID, which is the primary key that we are going to use or already used to have a relation with the sales T table. We have also the product name, the category name, and the price, and we are going to use this price to calculate the revenue, the sales revenue. And in the region table you will see the region name and the region ID. Finally, you can see here in the diagram view here, you can see the product table and the region table. Both of them are lookup tables. And you can see in the middle we have the sales T table, which is the transaction table, and you can see the one-to-many relation coming from the lookup table in both cases to the sales T table. So we have here the primary key on the product ID field, and here on the other side we have the foreign key product ID also, but in the transaction table. Same for region, we have here the primary key, the region ID, and the foreign key region ID inside the sales T. So let's go direct to Excel and see how we are going to extract this data into the Power Query. So as usual, when we start work with data from outside Excel, we normally start with a blank sheet. We start with a new workbook, and because we are going to work with Power Query, we have to go to the data ribbon. On the left hand side you'll see the get and transform data section, and from get data we are going to select from database, and from Microsoft Access database it will open a small browser asking you where exactly you store your Access database. So I'm going to select my Access database, sales DB, and click on import. Once I click on import, it will open the navigation window for Power Query. I can see on the left hand side my three tables: product, region, and sales transactions. I can check this box and select multiple tables, but for me I want only to select the sales T. I'm going to select. On the right hand side, a preview for the data will be produced. As you can see, here is my fields: product ID, region, date, and I have the quantity, the discount. I'm going to click on transform. It will launch the Power Query Editor. On the right hand side you can see your applied steps. I have two steps. First one is the source. You can see here the three tables and the navigation when I select the sales T table. And you have here in the center, you can see the preview of your data. You have your fields here: product ID, region ID, date, and then quantity, discount. And you have these two new columns. If you remember, when we look at the Access database, there was a relation between the product ID from the sales T table and the product ID inside the product table. That's why we have here this column representing the relation that we had in the Microsoft Access database. Same for region, we have the relation between the region table and the sales T table based on the region ID. If you click here on the right hand side on the empty space in the right here, you will see the preview of the data for just only this record. So you can see here the product ID 2009, and here is the match 2009, the name, product name, category name, the price, and you can see here sales table. So this is coming from the table product. And the same for the region. If you click here, you can see a preview of the equivalent record in the region table. So you can see here Cairo 3002, this is the region ID, and here is the region. So what I can do, how can I use this data? I can just click on the expand button so I can get the information that I want. So don't forget to uncheck use original column name as prefix, unselect all. I need only the product name, the category, and the price. I will click on OK. It will expand the three columns and this column will disappear, and you can see it give automatic names like how it was named in the other table. But for this, the first column, you can see product.1 because the original column was named product. So I want to change this. I can just do it from the formula bar here. I can just select carefully from upside here and backspace, backspace, and enter. Now I have this column renamed. I will do the same for the region. I'm going to expand this record. I'm going to uncheck select all columns. I'm going to select only the region and click on OK. It will come also like region.1. Let me do the same here. I will select from the formula bar backspace, backspace, and enter. So now I have three columns coming from the table product and one column coming from region product. Now I have the price, I have the discount, and also I have the quantity, so I can easily calculate the value of the sales. So I'm going to add column, custom column. So I'm going to give the name inside the custom column window. Let me call it sales revenue. So I'm going to go down in the formula section. I'm going to just do a very simple calculation. I'm going to select from the available columns. I'm going to select the quantity. I'm going to click on insert and then asterisk to perform a multiplication. And I'm going to select the price, double click, another asterisk, open bracket, 1 minus, and then I'm going to select discount, close the bracket. Now I'm ready. No syntax error have been detected. I am ready. I'm going to click on OK. You are going to see here a new column added with the sales revenue. But you can see here the data type is not proper. It's ABC and 1 to 3 together, meaning that it is data type of any. You can check it here from the home ribbon in the transform section. You can see data type is any. I want to make sure that the other data types is okay. So it's okay for the product ID. It's better to have it a whole number. Same for region ID. Let's put it as a whole number. For the date, it's better to select date instead of date and time. For the quantity, it's a whole number as well. Discount, I can see a percentage. I can change to percentage. For the product name and category name, it's okay to have it text. The price, 1.2, meaning it's a decimal, which is fine. I have the region ABC, this is okay. And the sales revenue, I can use currency. Now we have the sales revenue and the type is currency. I think now we are ready. We can just load our query inside the data model. So now I can choose close and load to. It will close the Power Query editor and it will open a new dialog box asking you where to import. We saw together before how we can import to a table, how we can import to a pivot table, but this time we want to import to the data model, and this will speed up your reporting big time. But you can't see here anything saying that you can load directly to the data model. However, you can choose only create connection, and then you can check here, add this data to the data model and click on OK. Once you did that, you will see the queries and connection open, the queries and connection pane opened, and a new query created here called sales T, and your data now is loading. The 3 million records are going to be loaded here. Now your 3 million records loaded, and it's loaded into the Excel data model. If you want to check where this data loaded or where this information loaded, you can go to the data ribbon, and from data tools you will find this green icon. You can just click on it, or from Power Pivot ribbon you will see the manage. In the data model section you'll see the manage icon. You can also use it. If you don't have the Power Pivot ribbon in your menu, you can just activate it from File, then Options, and then you go to Add-ins. If you scroll down into Add-ins, you will see Manage Excel Add-ins. From the drop-down menu you can select COM Add-ins and go. You will see the Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel. This is the add-in you need to activate, and then you click on OK. So let's click on Manage, and this will open the Power Pivot editor. Here we go. There is the Power Pivot editor. You can see here your table, sales T, and you can see here in the records bar, you can see the 3 million records counter. You can scroll down. You can view only. You can only view your data. You cannot edit your data from here. You can just add a new column, or you can use the section here below the gray line, which called the measure grid. You can add measures down here. So let's try to add a couple of measures so we can use it in the pivot table when we produce the sales report. No matter where in the grid, you can add everywhere. You can add anywhere in the grid. And if you want to add a measure, you can just start type, or you can go to the formula bar, and you have to start by giving a name to your measure. So for this case, let's add a measure called total sales revenue, and then you have to put double dots or the colon here, and then equal. Once you write the equal here, you start writing your measure. So we are going to use the sum function. It is similar like Excel, but it is a DAX formula. Let's write sum. And you can see, like Excel, it will give you some help. So you have plenty of formulas starting with SUM. We'll choose the first one. I can just double click using the mouse, and then it will prompt you to the parameters that are required by this function. And remember, here we don't have cell reference. We have only tables and columns. So I need to start with my table. So my table is sales. The only table I have is sales T, and I need to select the right column inside this table. So I'm going to select sales revenue and double click, and then close the parentheses and click on enter. The measure will be calculated, and here you go. If you expand this column, you can see this is the total of the column sales revenue. The very good thing about this DAX formula, you can attach number formatting for this measure. Whenever you use the measure in any pivot table, after that you will see the same formatting, no change in formatting. So let's add some number formatting. I'm going to use the currency. So I'm going to use the English United States. And you can see here you have your number formatting applied, and I'm going to reduce the decimal places to 0, so I don't have any decimal places in my number. Let's add another one, which is total quantity, or total Q, colon, equal, sum, and tab. I can use tab again sales. I'm going to scroll down with my, or go down by the arrows up to quantity and tap, close the bracket and enter. Let's also do some number formatting. This time I'm using the thousand separator and also 0 decimal places. Here is my total quantity for the entire period, and also I can add something like average price colon equal. I want to divide the total sales over the total quantity. So these are two measures, so I can quickly use the square bracket. When you start with the square bracket, you will see your measures here. So the first one I want to use is the sales revenue. Double click and then over another square bracket, and I'm going to select this time total Q. Double click and enter. This is perfect. I need only 2 decimal places, so I'm going to reduce the decimal places to only 2, and now I am ready. This is a little bit different from the Power Query editor, so you can just, using the mouse, you can toggle between the normal Excel window and the Power Pivot editor. You can also use the Alt tab, so you can toggle between the two windows normally, but I prefer when you stop working on your Power Pivot editor, you can just close it from here, and don't worry, you can still save normally from the normal Excel window. I think now we are ready. We can create our pivot table, but from where we are going to create this, we have 2 options. We can go back to manage to the Power Pivot editor and go back to the home ribbon, and I have here a pivot table icon. I can just use it, or I can close this and go to the insert, the normal insert window, and I can choose pivot table. Once you choose the pivot table, the normal create pivot table window will open, and because I'm not selecting any data and we have a data model in this Excel workbook, it's automatically directing you to use this workbook data model. And in existing worksheet, I'm going to use B3, no problem, and then I'm going to click on OK. It will create a pivot table 1. Let me give it a name like sales report and enter. Let me close also queries and connections, so we have enough space. You can see here the pivot table fields, and you can see your table here, and you can notice that there is a small database icon here inside the icon of the table, meaning that this pivot table is based on a data model. I will expand. Let's start with our measures. You can see here the 3 measures that we created, and the 3 measures start with a small icon like this F and X, meaning that this is a measure. So let's start with the total sales revenue. I'll put it in the values. You can see here it's coming with the formatting. No need to reformat your numbers. Let me put also the quantity and also the average price. You have here your 3 measures, and let's do some slice and dice. I'm going to use now the category. Let's take the date and put it above the category, and the default for this case, it will not be grouped, and I want to group it by year. So I'm going to right click and go to group, and I'm going to select years only. Here you go, you have the 3 years and divided or classified by category, and you can see here your measure is working very properly with all the slice and dice in the pivot table. Even the average price, it calculates at each level you put or use in your pivot table. Let me add a subtotal here. I would prefer to put the subtotal above the numbers. So let's go to the report layout and show in compact form. You have here the subtotal above your group. I can just copy this, go to the right, Control V. I can quickly adjust the width of the columns, and now I have a new pivot table. I can quickly change the layout. Let me take out the category and let me put instead the region. So I have the region name here below the years. You can see how the pivot table is refreshing very quickly. You can see here I have 2 reports, one yearly report categorized by the category, and the other one by the region very quick and very efficient. And whenever you add new value to your Access database, you just need to refresh this pivot tables and your report will automatically be updated. The query will be updated, the pivot table or the Power Pivot will be updated, and then the pivot table will be updated as well. I think it's very easy. That was all for today. And finally, if you didn't subscribe yet to the channel, please use the subscribe button to subscribe, and do like the video if you like it, and leave me a comment so I can get benefit from your feedback. Thank you very much for your time, and see you in the next video, and bye.